I mean, that's. I guess we're not thinking in those terms at all. Like we're just like
Batman.
But okay, sure. You're talking. Okay, like so. Okay, so that question I would say only makes sense in an attrition-based gameplay context, which is not what we have. So like it kind of means that like the boss doing abilities to be able to like to the boss trying to win is or like and trying to kill you versus denying you the loot isn't a different circumstance
so
unless there's attrition, which we don't have.
I saw like 12
so
seconds
like
left of this.
it's so what I'm saying is so what are you not agreeing with then about?
Well, I think you do have attrition-based combat on a lot of bosses, right? Because there are many of the like campaign bosses that don't necessarily have one-shots. But even just on like as a Viper, as an example, right? I was having a like quite long fight because I wasn't particularly powerful at Viper. So I think I had to reset 7 times without it killing me, but 7 times before I was able to actually kill Viper on my build because I was running out of flasks. And you don't have a good way to regen
Get passive charge.
So I'm not when I'm talking about attrition gameplay, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about attrition in the sense that your life pool is something that goes down over long periods of time rather than something that moves around.
Well, it effectively is through the fast, right?
Well, yes.
I was no longer able to recover.
So yes, to the extent that we have attrition-based gameplay, the attrition is through the flask. You are correct. Like attrition via flask is what we have. So what I'm saying though there.
The end.
Well, okay, sure, fair enough.
I actually thought they cut off for a second.
The flasks do give you the attrition, and so therefore
the campaign is quite attritioned.
Yes, attrition.
The kind of cap comes off, so to speak, at end game, where like it can be very. It's certainly the case with a concept like Leech that the moment that a boss can't one-shot you at all, which.
Well, okay, like if you removed all sources of flask charge gain out, like that.
Ask Clap, yes, what's up, brother? How are you?
Then you could probably reduce the size of the big monster hits.
Well, just to check real quick as well, just because specifically talking about Arbiter, there's kind of a few things going on. Like, it is the intention that the skills, and which it happens in the game and PoE1 as well, and like some people might argue it's some sort of bad design or not. I kind of like it. There are the skills that are more like your personal agility or dexterity based, and you have to avoid them, and that's like, you know, stand in the elder donuts and the, you know, the dances and the like move into the lanes and the, you know, bullet hells-esque things where it's like that's not really your character as much. Like, are you thinking those are fine, or are those, whether or not they're exactly tuned in this context, like in terms of timing? But are you okay with the idea that those kill you and you don't get to make like whether or not they could be more lenient is a different question, but like are you okay with those killing you and kind of your defenses don't really matter? Like, are those the problem? Is what I'm just trying to understand exactly what skills are a problem.
Yeah, so for the Arbiter, I feel like there are multiple, right? You have the corridor move. That was pretty much always a one-shot, right? And sometimes, obviously, like you were saying, that wasn't like the main topic, but they can spawn almost too far away. I remember seeing a clip of like Quinn running slightly in the wrong direction, and then he sees the corridors the other way, and he's like, "Oh, it's over for me." You have the Arbiter move where he does like the fake out meteor, where he starts like firing the beam into it and stuff. I guess the way, like, as a player, I would want defense to be is the more I invest into defense, the larger my room for error should be. Which is where I'm feeling there's a big disjoint now, right? Where it just isn't. And then I'm entirely incentivized to go full offense because I'm still having enough defense that those mid-range hits and small hits, they're still not one-shotting me. So all I need to be able to do is tank them, and then I just don't have an option for huge one-shots at all.
I don't.
Okay, so yeah, I understand the point of view from that one.
Oh shit, it's divine. Is Ziz just saying I don't like one-shot mechanics, get rid of them? That's all I'm really understanding out of this right now.
Isn't now just like,
which is like fine to have that opinion, but
20% of investment of the way there.
Like,
now
he's saying I want to be able to survive one-shots if I build purely tanky.
Whatever button on the boss or whatever, and now you're leeching permanently and you're fine.
Like some stuff, I guess makes sense. Like I don't think that core gorilla should
like,
one-shot you if you're giga tanky.
If it is a like
but if you have like
universal
a pinnacle boss that's doing a mass AOE
okay,
that
like
takes
for
5 seconds to cast on the ground,
would it be
I don't think you
okay
should be able
that
to sit
I mean, look, the corridor. Let's use that as the example. So the corridor obviously has some like, okay, it's too hard to get. We need to probably improve the way the lanes spawn such that you don't get into that situation where like it is literally impossible for me to run there unless I have X or Y. There is the thing where like, okay, for example, if like life regen wasn't regulated, like, do you really think any player in the game, like this is, I'm not saying this is wrong or right, should just be able to AFK in that? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so definitely I prefer that over watching people one-shot bosses. 100%. With enough investment.
Well, no, we won't disagree, but just like, I'm just curious. Do you actually think it should be okay or able to?
Yeah, I'm not entirely against something just being a straight up one-shot, like failing the memory game, for example, in PoE1. Like I'm not inherently against that, but I do think the current ones are a little bit like too fast to be those one-shots.
Yeah, I agree. I just think there is two problems here, which I'm interested in. One is mechanics feeling fair, which there are things here that are unfair, and that is bad, and they need changing. And I will get that adjusted today. And I'll get that on live as soon as I can, which might even also be today. The other thing would be that the bigger thing, which is that investing in defense is not
I can't
allowing you to mitigate it. It's like, so different from the corridor skill. There's just like whether or not investing in defense enough, it gives you enough defense against things in general, against the bosses, which maybe isn't the case. It might be that yes, you investing in defense needs to be more advantageous right now for sure. And like, don't get me wrong, there's nothing more, and I've spoken about this before in the past, there's nothing more demoralizing than putting hundreds of hours into a boss and then it's just like deleted, and it's like, oh great, that was
but it's also demoralizing to just watch someone sit there and face tank it and just attack it with no, like, having to not even movie.
They are correct about both things.
Especially without the gear.
Like it's kind of it's almost a bit ridiculous to discuss like which of these two horrible outcomes is better. Like like surely the actual answer is like neither of them should be happening.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's just that it's pretty rare that we've seen defense be the really OP one. That's all, right? Like we very often see offense.
Maybe it is, but like I think that's probably also a lot around the fact that people like building glass cannons. Like that is a thing people just like doing. And so like the amount of incentivization and so then there's the issue of like well, I mean, let me put it this way. Even if right now, and I don't know whether this is the case or not, like it probably isn't, but even if defense was overtuned compared to damage, I think that you're still not going to incentivize people to do that until you get to the point where they're immortal. Like, I don't think getting 80% of the way to immortality is actually enough even for people to still not want to build glass cannons.
Correct.
And so you kind of got like that issue of
people like
it's just really, really hard to get that balance right. So the... Like,
I only build defense because I like playing hardcore to the level that I can survive and then as much damage as possible.
People,
and then as you get better, you need less of that defense. There just tends to be an erring
on the side of offense for that reason,
right? Like,
and I don't think either immortality or insta-killing bosses is
how
right.
To play better.
So, like, the people probably concentrate on the damage more.
Yeah, especially, I mean, we have a bigger problem, especially with just in general, just thinking about it, like, damage also now resulting in crowd control amplifies the problem even further.
Yeah.
Because that, having the boss be heavy stunned and or frozen or whatever, like, majority of the fight is just even more of a reason to just go ballistic on damage. Yeah, there are problems here, 100%. I'm just thinking of random other things that.
Well, yeah, I have other questions about defense as well.
I'm shocked.
So armor break, I would say like effectively disables armor, right, as a defense for hardcore. It's sort of like when it comes around, it kind of like shuts down your main form of defense. You're feeling like very tanky if you do invest into armor. Well, ideally, I do still armor needs a buff. But I guess the problem I have with Armor Break and Fizz Overwhelm in PoE1 is that it's just so crazy to me to have something effectively shut down your defense from time to time. So yeah, are you happy with Armor Break and Fizz Overwhelm being in the game?
well, in PoE2 context, I am not happy with the current state of monster armor break. No, that is also on my change today list. So I need to. There's a few things. It was meant to be that they're breaking flat amounts of armor, and that isn't. So if the more you stack, the less significant the armor break becomes from the enemy. I suspect there might be some sources of percentage based in there, which are just like, it disincentivizes. I mean, it just means that the more you have, the more you're relying on armor, the more punished it's going to be. So yeah. I just need to do a quick audit. There's not that many sources, thankfully, so it won't take long, and I just need to make sure that it's working. And then there are possibly cases where it is just doing too much, and yeah, it's just like, yeah, it acts as an insane weakness. But yeah, I know 100% agreed it is not in the right spot, and also on the today list. So I need to make sure that we go back, get the community team to go back through this afterwards and make sure I don't forget about all these things. But no, that one I already have. There's that and the speed and a bunch of these other, and Arbiter, and there's a whole bunch of stuff here.
Yeah, we've gone over a lot already. Do you think in the short term we could see just like a straight up number buff to armor while you're trying to work out a long-term solution?
Oh no, but I'm not talking about a long-term solution for the armor break thing. I'm talking about it'll be solved today.
No, I know, but like that's what I mean for armor too.
I see what you're saying. Sorry, misunderstood. Yeah, sure. I can't be able to immediately say that.
In order to change armor, we'd need to be able to understand why it's bad. And I don't think just changing the number right now is right for that.
Okay, that's fair.
Like, I don't think we've fully understood the issue there.
We did a few things. Like, there was some overwhelm on some bosses, and we removed it. And there was... there were too many skills converting too much into element.
Down to Gamba.
And I think we pushed back a lot of that. So like, it obviously makes the armor more effective against those abilities. And like, there's a lot more of that we probably need to reevaluate as well, just across the board.
Reduced attribute. Yeah. It's not actually terrible on
that. But that stuff's really fast to change. As for just a global number shift.
But that's an example right there of why just changing the number wouldn't have even helped, right? Like, if the problem is elemental damage, then making armor stronger wouldn't have done anything for that. So like, it's so important to understand the reason before we just make changes.
Obviously, the danger there by moving more is it then makes it worse for non-armor builds as well. But that increases the power of armor differential to the others, and so there's you've got to be careful with that. Yeah. But well, maybe.
Because
maybe there's something we can do more imminently.
Anecdotally, I would definitely love more access to different forms of defense, and I know that is definitely an EA problem where just not everything is in yet. But just to like anecdotally running through my experience, I am a Smith of Kitava, so I have like the shared res and the shared max res. So I'm 89, 90, 90. And for a long time I was like 85, 86, 87. So very high alley res. And on top of that, I was wearing a
which means yes, currently moving more into Fizz is probably going to be to your detriment.
Yeah, sure. But even with that, and a Cloak of Flames, and I can't remember the name, Hollow something, but there's the unique helmet with like 15% Fizz reduction. Even with all of that mitigation, I was like, at the start of today's stream, I was very rough until I got my 4th lab. That I was able to like improve it a little bit, but it felt a little bit weird to me as a player that I've like my entire ascendancy was defense based. I picked up every defense I could on the tree, and I was trying so hard to get really good gear too, and it was very rough on defense.
I mean, what I immediately probably will do after is I'm just going to grab your character, put it locally, and then just kind of have a look at that. It's just so I can get a better exact understanding. But like, sure.
I can give you a snapshot before I because now with regen it has been.
We have it all. Don't worry. You can take anyone's character from live and just play with it. It's not a
perfect. Yeah.
We don't need
the regen did make a big difference, but I'm still seeing a lot of issues there. Another thing that has been brought up a lot, and I thought was a really good point, was we see chaos damage disenchant.
I mean, I wasn't going to use it in the end anyways.
In PoE1, it was like generally something we'd see a lot later. Would you be open to considering something like the Chaos Soul Core being a rune instead, something that we can like get early? It's definitely a big part of what makes Viper so scary. Is it's almost impossible to get Chaos Res early on.
The poison chick. Yeah, fuck her, dude.
sounds like a sort of more of a hardcore related concern, because in standard you wouldn't like it's just balanced to be okay, but in hardcore where you're wanting to definitely not die, it's like a different concern. I don't think we would have thought about it in that way previously.
It is sort of a medium core
chaos
concern, because like if you can't get past the boss, you're just stuck there.
Oh sure, but like I mean the damage like it's balanced assuming 0 chaos resist, right? So like
Viper's hard.
It is a hard fight. That's just a side note that's separate. But
Yeah.
like in terms of just the fact that it's chaos damage, I don't think is as relevant in standard play, because like we're balanced assuming you have no chaos resistance, and so therefore,
what does she do that's chaos? Obviously the big purple meteor storm that
Or poison, no?
I want to make some
Isn't,
changes
isn't poison chaos?
It
Or
just
is that
creates too
PoE
much
1
mess
only?
on the ground. It's a little bit lacking clarity or that fairness problem.
And
And then
the
how many
spare
of us
things,
skills-
right? I'm assuming.
So the way it works is, aside from poison itself dealing chaos damage, the only other things that are chaos damage are anything that is purple.
Yeah.
So all of her green stabs and slashes, none of that is chaos, and none of it
so
should
it's
be
physical.
chaos.
It's
I should
physical
say.
hits, and then the
Oh,
poison.
it's only
if
getting.
it
Oh, it's
poisons
only
you,
the
then
poison
it's
take
chaos
damage
but
that is chaos.
because
not
the
actual
poison damage is
hits.
based on the hit. Your armor effectively mitigates the chaos damage
Wow.
because it reduced the hit size.
Right.
So yeah.
So yeah, the meteor thing is a problem, but it's like more of a fairness problem, because ideally you should be able to dodge that pretty reliably every time. Right now, it's a bit of a mess.
It is hard to dodge that.
Yes, but aside from that, it would only be the poison, of which, yes, your other defenses would, armor in particular,
Where the fuck
evasion
is
would
this?
mitigate.
Oh, there it is.
Right.
But yes, I do. It is the case, by the way, that if a thing like any snake spitter that's spitting at you with some green poison thing, that aside from the poison debuff, which I believe you said kind of wasn't that dangerous earlier in general, and maybe there are certain cases where it is.
It's definitely dangerous if you're playing an evasion card. Like that poison
but
feels
that-
lethal, and that's once again because the armor didn't.
The hit is
Yeah.
never chaos damage, just to be
Okay.
clear. Which in PoE 1 it is. It's like half chaos, half fizz.
Yeah. No, I did not know that. I fully
chaos
thought
half
the
Ziz.
spears from the side, which a lot of people say is the most dangerous attack. I thought that was chaos.
Those do a lot
So
of
it's
damage.
very heavy
Just
hit.
fizz.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's probably just more of a Viper is too hard problem.
Right. Makes sense. I wanted to ask you a little
She
bit
is
about.
hard.
She's very hard. I wanted
so
to ask you a
hard
little
when I
bit
do
about
her.
pushing. As a player, I experience that sometimes, like as like it's almost seems like desync to me, if I'm being frank. Is there an option to have more source of push resistance? Something, for example, like the more strength the character has, or wearing heavy armor. It does seem a little silly to a lot of people that like people maybe have 300, 500 strength, or they're wearing like full plate, but like yeah, a lot of monsters are just pushing you around very easily.
It doesn't currently exist as a concept of mitigating it, because it was meant to be more of a physical thing of... Well, there's two things. There's like monsters pushing you because you literally cannot occupy the same space as them.
So here are we talking right now about monster charge abilities, or are we talking about
Yeah, she dropped a lot
like
of gold.
a
Just like when
sword, like a
yeah.
sword
Just getting
swing?
some fucking broke after this
The
stupid
the
game.
number one thing that has been noticeable for me is that like little, I think it's called an antline maybe or something. It's like the little like yellow beast that like rolls on you. That still does take you for a
Okay,
ride.
sure. Well, in that case,
The big rise
it's
rate
probably
boss,
just a matter of
pushes you
fixing
around, too.
That particular thing, like I suspect that the answer to this one is not we need a mitigation. Really, it's more just like we just need to look at places that are like just monsters that are bad and just fix them individually.
There are certain things I wanted to do, like I wanted it to be, and there were technical limitations here that we probably need to reevaluate, but I wanted it to be when you were blocking or parrying and you got hit, you got knocked less back because you technically did deflect them.
Right.
In the parry case in particular, and
In
like
some cases, there's just push direction. Like maybe the ant
Yeah, and
are
then
not
some-
pushing you
well,
side with that thing.
the
And
charges and things taking you a ride has been like honestly
Yeah.
the bane of my year.
that's just a
Yeah.
that's more of a just specific setup of specific monsters
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Like did we fix what's his name the lumberjack guy?
In theory, but it seems to regress.
still happens sometimes.
It
Like,
seems
there's
to
something-
just break every
I don't
week.
think this is a like balance question. I think it's just a technical like we just need to fix some places and
Yeah. I just wonder.
There is also some desync we need to fix because
yeah, sure. There's also that.
annoying.
Yeah. Is pushing something you would consider temporarily removing until you have fixed the issue?
Not at all. No, it will make the game feel like dog shit if we do that. Like, there's just lots of things that you need to have. You need to have some pushing in order to make work. Like,
Okay.
I think it's more just specific monsters.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm not 100% sure I agree with that, but we'll move on.
That's because you haven't seen it without it. Like, yeah.
That's fair. That's true.
If
Like,
we
there's a
turn
lot
off
of
all
things-
sources of pushing, it would just be it would be a disaster.
Right.
There's probably like a bunch of technical limitations to it.
So during early access, we've talked about like respace and lowering respec costs and stuff. And I wanted to bring up the point that a lot of players are using a large amount of their gold on gambling, because a lot of people are falling behind or feeling behind on gear.
I barely used it. Is that
So I
wrong?
wonder if you would consider further lowering costs and even like reopen the conversation on ascendancy respec during early access, especially since you've been talking about that you are going to be buffing things. So let's say somebody is like, oh wow, Flame Blast looks really cool. I would love to be able to try that, but maybe redoing the entire campaign again, which can be over 20 hours for a lot of people, feels very
Yeah, I agree.
prohibitive.
He's right about this. I need a lot of respec.
I do find it to be, maybe not. Oh, I do find it to be very fucking cheap right now. Is the thing.
Exactly. I can't say personally I've run into that as a problem.
Hmm.
Like, I'll respec my character all the time. I don't even think twice about it. Like, it's not been a concern, really.
I guess it depends how much you gamble or not.
It probably
Well,
does.
Yeah, that's a gig
point,
across, well.
yeah, but
Social
even like
point.
I'm saying, even if you're just like early, so I don't think it takes that long to actually do a pretty substantial.
Not
I have to
Oh,
admit
fuck.
that I haven't been gambling in my playthroughs, really.
Hmm.
Like, I was, like, probably about 6 months ago I was doing that all the time, and I just haven't really been doing it recently.
When we did the like gold model and respec costs, we had assumptions of like, here's how much people will spend on vendors,
Right.
and here's how much, and there's
Yeah.
probably look, those assumptions assume a perfect world of that person exactly doing that thing, and so yes, if anyone was to stray from that assumption, they're now not going to be able to afford one thing over the other.
What I'm actually hearing right now, by the way, from this and an earlier conversation we had,
There's a lot
is
of
that I need
fucking
to
whining.
not Be I need to do some disenchantless runs, because apparently I'm not testing something that players are actually doing. Like, my runs are entirely like I disenchant every rare on my runs generally, and so if that's a different behavior, then I need to test that and see what the experience is like, because like the whole like there's not enough currency thing, there's not, like stuff like that, and like and if you're telling me that you're like selling your rares and buying gambling all the time, and then you're also saying
Maybe
you have gold for
Zizaran just
respec,
has
it's like,
a fucking
this is just
gambling
like a
addiction
materially different
IRL,
playstyle
and
that I'm
he's
not
professional
currently
help
testing
chat.
myself.
Right.
So like
could be
I
like
think
a
that's what I need
silent
to do
cry
to
for
see,
help.
what's going on with that.
And with the last point I made, would you, especially with the fact that there are going to be buffs coming during this, would you
I don't think that anything changes between early access and not early access regard, by the way. Like, I think that if the argument is that it should, like, I think the argument is the same regardless of whether it's early access. Like, I don't think the early access is a part of this decision regardless. It's just, what is the price supposed to be? We should get it correctly to that
Well,
price.
sure, but
I
I'm
think
talking about
otherwise it-
ascendancy respec was what I wanted to.
Yeah, otherwise
sure.
it depends a little bit on the severity of the change. But like it depends partly also on just how much we change. Without knowing the how big those changes are, because I needed to get in there and actually do them first and then make that decision really. Like, there are certainly options there. It is important to me to make sure that I understand exactly where I sit on the Ascendancy class respec thing, because the moment that's turned on, it ain't going back. So that is blocked by me, and I will take whatever is necessary on that one. I understand it.
Well,
it is more...
Can I ask you a
I will
question
have a
about it
solution.
No.
Sure.
Let's give me a spicy
Do you
map.
feel like it is absolutely necessary to have those both be
3.
permanent choices? Because you already do have the character class itself be a permanent choice, right?
Oh, no, and I'm like, I do understand. Do be clear, I am on the fence about this. Like,
No.
I can't say that, like, I'm like, oh, I can't believe PoE1 has Ascendancy class respecing. Like, I'm all for that as well. It's just I'm also for the more permanent decision. I'm just like, I need to find the variable that makes me be able to, or the articulation to be able to go one way or the other. And it's very easy to just fold on that, like, very easy. It'd be very easy to just be like, we're going to change it right now. But it's not, when you have the things that you can't come back from, like, you definitely want to be certain to some degree. There are some other staff that share the same sentiment as me, and I might just go and have a bigger discussion and actually figure that out. And like, it is true, it's not really fair to make people have to wait for that decision on my behalf. I kind of was like, look, by release, post early access, you will have that decision one way or the other, and that will just be the way it is. But yeah, fair enough. If the argument is like, if it's going to come up every single time, which is fair, people care about it, then I probably need to press the decision sooner than later. So I'll just get that answer sooner and not have people wait so long. Hopefully, for everyone's sake, it's the answer you want. But if it isn't, well, you might just have to deal with it.
That's fair. That's fair. I think I was curious about, like, so you went with the decision to keep that energy shield does not get bled, but just sort of like giving monsters a form to be immune, right? Like it feels very similar to like a monster.
I don't think that we've actually come to a decision on this really. Like there wasn't like I think after the last time this was discussed, we never actually went back and talked about it. So I wouldn't say we've decided that. It's more just that it just went in like that because we didn't get another chance to talk about it. So I don't know that we have a real answer as to what we want to do with that yet.
Okay.
Like we probably will revisit that.
I personally am just all for changing it, to be honest.
Okay, well, sure. Then I mean, I have no objection to that.
We made the decision a while back. Like I don't see why it can't.
I did want to bring up, if you do make it like that on players too, remember to put bleed immune on CI.
Yeah. We will definitely change CI, but it is a thing that the players are now going to have to deal with who aren't CI, just as a a note, as a thing that will happen.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say that bleed is exactly breaking the bank right now, is it? Or it was for a while. There was a period there where like bleed was just brutal. Like what changed to make that not the case? Like I'm talking pre-release.
They said bleed, not poop.
Could you remember when the frickin' like prowlers and G14 bled you? And,
we had bleed on a lot more things, and then there was some crazy damage multipliers on it. Some that I can't remember why they were, but I mean,
what are these orbs do? Is that like what spawns into the monsters for corruption?
Which was also unfun, by the way.
Yeah, they really removed it. I'm just saying, like, I don't remember what happened.
Yeah. I have a question about Ignite Prolif, specifically with the monsters needing to stand still for, or like needing to be near the source for 2 seconds to be able to proliferate.
It probably needs to be buffed.
It's on the today list. It was actually on my yesterday list, and I didn't quite get to it, so it sucks.
I know we've had a lot of heavy questions, but I have a bit of a lighter question for myself. Like, how are you feeling about the current like Blessed Orb and Divine Orb being bundled together?
I don't have a problem with it. I mean, is there anything?
I would say I don't have a feeling one way or the other, really. It's just how do you feel about it?
I definitely like. I don't know if this is just
the fact that he brought it up. I think answers your question already.
I definitely feel like it's missing, because like I would never divine an item, like because the divine it's a big investment, right? Like we use it a lot on like uniques or like when a main weapon is like in need of it. But
okay, are you saying that you believe that this is reducing the desire to actually use divines?
It's just that I would never use it for just an implicit on an item. So it just makes an item feel like pretty much permanently worse than what it should be, I guess, is like my personal anecdotal feeling as a player.
I mean, is that partly also just because the ranges and or power of an implicit
they have more of a conversation with their interviews, or as Blizzard. Well, Blizzard kind of used to be like that, but Blizzard interviews now are you allot like a 30-minute time slot with Ian or something, and that's it.
Some are good.
That's what you get.
Some are very good.
I can't say this is something we've really thought about.
Yeah.
So
it's just a thing that kind of happened, and then like honestly it just went under the radar the whole time. So
yeah,
if there are more opinions on that, I'd be like really happy to hear them.
Yep. It was just something I was curious about, so I figured I'd bring it up. The next thing is about movement speed. In PoE 1, we have a lot more things like Whirling Blades, Frostblink, etc. And in PoE 1, I feel like it's a bit more viable to completely forego movement speed on boots and go for like triple energy shield. But obviously movement abilities aren't in the same spot in PoE 2. Is there ever a world where you either like think about like removing the hidden movement reductions on shield and armor, give like a implicit movement speed to boots or something like that, so they scale a little bit with like the higher bases?
But there's a movement speed decrease on shields?
Well, I mean, you're just are you just saying here just make movement speed on the player faster?
So, for example, like one idea that I saw was if you let's say that some bases have 5, 10, and 15 movement speed, so like the higher bases are slightly better, and maybe even like scale less, right? So that some of your movement speed is guaranteed, or make it like a lot easier to roll movement speed, like increase the weight that it can roll.
Well, I don't necessarily think it's bad to have a base type that
have a hidden movement speed deep up.
You know, that's somewhat mandatory. Like that's okay. But it sounds like but if you're
as a player,
if honestly, because I mean the thing is, in PoE 1, are there really people going around like? Surely it isn't common that people don't have movement speed on their boots in PoE 1. I mean, I guess it's technically viable if you just, you reckon?
Yeah, quite a lot of like triple energy shield boots and stuff. Or especially different in PoE 1 because we have the influence things.
Right. Again, seasoned players, not like
right.
Yeah, not new players, sure.
Random.
But it is an option, and it isn't really in PoE 2. Like movement speed is a lot more mandatory.